Welcome to Coffee, Culture, and the Capital with Sophia and Greg. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we are going to be diving into Prop 50 because on Tuesday, November 4th, you have to vote on that day or before then. We're going to dive into maybe some things going on with the UCs, with California universities here, with demanding and forcing kids in college to use pronouns, and they can't use dead names and all these things. So we're going to dive into compelled speech on that angle, as well as if you follow us on social media, you may have seen some videos of grown adult women flipping off girls that are standing to protect girls' sports. We had Ted Cruz comment on it. And so we're going to dive into where that was at, why that happened, what is going on in the Save Girls Sports movement in California right now. So, Greg, Prop 50. I think anyone that lives in the state of California, you're driving around, you're seeing yes on Prop 50 signs, no on Prop 50 signs. I mean, you're seeing it all over the place. What is going on with Prop 50?
That's right. This is where your high school government courses should have explained all about redistricting and gerrymandering. Did you learn about gerrymandering when you took a government course in high school? Well, if you didn't, you should have. Gerrymandering is a way that politicians will draw a district to get them elected. And here in California, we have moved away from gerrymandering. We don't let politicians draw the congressional. We're talking about congressional lines right now. We don't let them draw the congressional lines because typically, if you let the politicians do it, they will draw those lines to their own advantage, right? They'll draw lines in such a way that more of whatever party's in charge will get themselves elected. And so California has an independent commission. Every 10 years when the census is taken, people are counted up, and we find out how many people we have here in California. It's been decreasing over the years. So we used to have, I think, 54 representatives going to D.C. as representatives to the House of Representatives. But now we're down to 52. And we last drew up those lines back in 2000 or 2000 for the 2002 election, and so they were supposed to be set for the next 10 years. But California is now wanting to change those lines in reaction to something that's happening in other states, because Texas has recently redrawn their lines, and their lines are redrawn at the behest of some lawsuits that made those lines be redrawn. And when they redrew them, they got some more Republican districts. Texas is majority Republican, and so when those legislators threw together the lines, more Republican districts were drawn up. Meaning, and here's how you get the more districts that are plus the other party, the more representatives you can get. Now, if you look at these maps here, you will see that there are the most of the current safe Democratic seats are along the coast, because that's where most of the Democrats live. But they're also, drawn in such a way that there are, I think, around I should have this number, but it's around 40 currently. 44 of the districts are Dem, and Republicans only have like 9. If you look there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are only 9 current congressional districts that have Republicans in them. The rest of that 52 are Democrat districts. Now, there are more. If you look at the last presidential election, I think it was like 40% that voted for Trump, 60% voted for Harris. So obviously, California is majority blue, but it's not that majority. It's not. So currently, it's lopsided. Like, we should have, if it was completely fair, we would have more of our population represented by Republicans than we do, and we don't. But so they're taking those current maps. Now look at this new proposed map. This is what you're voting on Tuesday for these brand new lines, and they drew them up in such a way that more of the districts have majority Democrat vote. So you see that whole Northern California, it's all red. That's like isolated mountain communities up there by Shasta, near the Oregon border. But look, they grabbed all those Republicans up there, and then they put this narrow line and swooped down all the way to Marin County. Marin County is a very wealthy, liberal county right across the bay from San Francisco. So you think, well, and that's how they could want to transform that particular district into a solid, safe Democrat district, taking the seat that's currently held by a Republican. Now you can see other places, it's down to Republicans will be left with, I think, three or four from the current, 8 or 9. So cut it in half. So even though we have 30 to 40% conservative Republicans in the state, those people will only have 3 congressional districts if this passes. So this is not good, folks. And it looks like the polls currently, if you trust the polls, that this ballot is winning, and our airwaves are being flooded with vote yes, stick it to Trump, right? All in reaction to what some Republican districts are doing and other Republican states are doing. So this is gerrymandering on steroids. If you think gerrymandering's bad, it looks like California is giving that up temporarily for 3 election cycles. That's what they say. It's only going to affect 3 election cycles. So then we'll go back to drawing the congressional lines. But unless they come up with some other crisis and they stick it on the ballot again. So hope that is explanation enough of why we need to vote no on redrawing the lines.
Yes, exactly. So you have just, depending on when you watch this, just a few days or even a few hours to go vote. So that, again, is Tuesday, November 4th. You need to have go vote in person that day or have turned your ballot in before then. And so, again, that is a no vote on Prop 50. And Greg, we watch things, unfortunately, constantly go on in California, from that power grab right there in Prop 50 from Newsom and the Democrats who pushed that through the California legislature, to we're seeing, again, as per usual, unfortunately, attacks on compelling people's speech here in the state of California to align with this trans ideology that is also heavily pushed at the state capitol. And so we just did some reporting at California Family Council about what is happening at the UCs, the universities of California here, and about them compelling students to affirm transgender ideology. But, people might think, well, colleges, that's kind of what happens at colleges nowadays. Like, people are always trying to force you how to think, or not how to think, but what to think. People get mad if you use the wrong pronouns. But this goes a step further. It's not just compelling students to affirm trans ideology, but if you choose not to, you literally can lose access to your education. There will be a hold on you being able to register for future classes. And so, Greg, with that, what is going on right now at the UC level?
Right. So a couple years ago, there was a bill that was passed that mandated that all students, before they enroll, they have to go through sex harassment training. Right. But the universities have interpreted that to they've reinterpreted the words sexual harassment to include creating a hostile environment for protected classes. right? And so it could be based on, race or nationality or religion or sex or gender identity and sexual orientation. Now, what does that mean in practice? Well, in practice, what the colleges are doing is they're implementing something called SHAPE. It's short for Sexual Harassment, Anti-Discrimination Prevention Education. And in order for you to enroll in classes, you have to score 100% on their test after you take the training. And so, what does this test say, right? Well, just to prove to you what I'm saying is true, I'm going to read to you from the UCI Office of Equal Opportunity and Diversity. Now, UCI is in Irvine, University of California of Irvine, and it's on their student training. And here's what it says. It says, what is a passing grade on the quiz at the end of the training? To be considered compliant, students must earn 100% on the quiz at the end of the course. Students may attempt the quiz as many times as needed to ensure they understand the material. Note, a failure to complete this training by October 24th, which has already passed, will result in OEOD, which I'm assuming that is the Office of Equal Opportunity and Diversity, will place a hold on your spring quarter registration. And it emphasizes it again, the next bullet point. What happens if I do not complete the training? An academic hold will be placed on your student record. Who do not complete the mandatory training, and you don't complete it unless you get 100%. So what is this training and what is this test? Okay, well, we have some screenshots that we included in and we got one of them up here. This is one of the questions, right? It says, hey, my name is Mona and I'm transgender. My classmate Jane continues to call me James, which was my name before I transitioned. Jane refers to me as a man and complains when I use the women's restroom. We've asked her to stop, but she does not. I feel very disrespected and want to stop. The question is, what type of prohibited conduct can this be? And the correct answer is next. You pull that slide up.
Yeah, so you see here their different options are sexual exploitation, relationship violence, quid pro quo, and a hostile environment. And so, Greg, what is their correct answer, quote unquote, correct answer to this?
So the correct answer is as follows. You have to answer correct, and then it says this: hostile environment may be created when someone demands that others in a particular Hostile environment may be created when someone demands that others use a particular bathroom that does not correspond to their gender. Meaning, if you make a complaint saying, why is there a man in the girls' restroom? So if you say that, you're creating a hostile environment. Or you use an incorrect pronoun, meaning you will not refer to someone based on their gender identity. You're going to refer to someone as the sex they really are. If you do that, that's creating a hostile environment, and that is equivalent of being of sexual harassment. Intentionally calling someone by their name used prior to transition, or as opposed to their lived name, is called dead naming and may be a form of sexual harassment. So what it's doing is many of the protests that Sophia, you have been having on high school campuses and junior highs, where these kids are coming out and saying, hey, I don't want a boy in my bathroom. They are considering that creating a hostile environment. And once those kids get to college, they're going to have to answer this correctly if they want to go to school. So this is going to put the Christian in a bind, because the Christian has been being asked to say something is wrong with their behavior if they won't use preferred pronouns. Something is wrong with their behavior if they're uncomfortable taking a shower with the opposite sex in a locker room or getting dressed. All of that uncomfortableness, hostile environment is now Christian values on sex and gender. So it's every student is like, well, what do I do? I got to go to school. I guess I'll just say what they want me to say. And so that's where this violates freedom of religion or violates free speech. You cannot be compelled to say something you do not believe in order to attend class, especially related to your religious beliefs.
Yeah, and
Right?
I want to add on to that. Like, if you are listening to the podcast and not watching on Facebook, YouTube, or X, you've probably missed the fact that I've rolled my eyes 1,000,001 times as Greg is talking about all this nonsense, because that's what it is. This is completely insane. The fact that we are teaching people that if you quote unquote dead name someone, so if Billy is Billy and he now goes by Brenda, but you choose to call him Billy because that's his name and a boy can never be a girl or vice versa, that's now a form of sexual harassment. Like, think about that for a second. That's complete insanity that we've hit a point where that's what the UCs are now not just telling students, but forcing them to agree with to get 100% on this quiz. I mean, this is basically saying that if I was a student at a UC campus right now, and if I walked into the restroom and there was a male in the women's restroom, and I said, "What are you doing in here? You need to get out of here." And like took a video of the man like washing his hands in the women's restroom or whatever for like evidence, and then went to my school office and said, "There is a man in the women's restroom. I'm uncomfortable. This is not okay." I'm the one that's creating a hostile environment. I'm the one that's in the wrong. That is what these schools are saying. But not only are they saying that I'm in the wrong, now I can't register for my classes next semester. So now the only way to get a college degree at these UCs is to say, I'm okay with boys in my restroom and I'll call you the pronouns you want, not what you actually are. Because at the end of the day, there's two sexes. A man can never be a woman and a woman can never be a man. It's common sense. And so, like you said, Greg, this, like for me, again, if I was at a UC right now, this completely 100% goes against my religious beliefs. But it also just goes against plain common sense. If someone isn't religious, they shouldn't be told that by dead naming someone, that's sexual harassment. I mean, these are common sense issues. And Greg, like you touched on, the students, a lot of the students, I'm sure, are like, okay, I'll just hit the quote unquote correct answers that Shape says are correct so I can get my classes. But then what happens when the situation happens and they don't want to call a boy she, her, or a girl they, them, or whatever pronouns these people are requesting? They've already now
Right.
agreed on this quiz that that's sexual harassment, that that's a hostile environment. I mean, so they
Right.
can kind of go back at the college students and said, like, you know, you're creating a hostile environment because you took this quiz and you passed it. So it's just like, really, all of you listening right now, take a second to just like think how insane this is. It goes completely against biological truth, common sense, religious beliefs. I mean, this is completely insane.
Right. This is what tyranny looks like,
Mhm.
folks. And it will continue if you just acquiesce. Right. So the Constitution is on your side. You need to push back.
Mhm.
You need to go in there and say, I cannot, in good conscience, answer these questions the way you want me to because you're making me deny my own religious beliefs. Right. And you ask for an accommodation and they're going to give it to you. Right. So do not go along with this. Right. This would be the beginning of them requiring you to believe all kinds of things before, you go to college.
Mhm.
Right. It would be a never ending list of woke ideas that you would have to say, yes, I agree with, I will, this is wrong and this is wrong. We're not talking about, listen, there can be decorum about sexual harassment. Somebody should not be able to make sexual comments towards other people and, sexual grabbing and touching, people have the right to be free from that. But this is a major debate that's happening in our country, and the university is trying to eliminate debate by claiming one person on one side of the debate is, so immoral that we can't let you actually have that belief and attend class at a public university, right? It's ridiculous. And folks, do not just do it because, you want your education. Your education will be worthless if this is what you have to do to get one, right? Have some integrity, right? Stand up for yourself. Don't be a lemming and just go along to get along.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is not what Christ created you to be when he said, you're the salt and light of the earth. Don't let your salt lose its saltiness. Well, you would be losing your saltiness if you just signed the form, did what they want, right? Say the words they want. I mean, this is what they had to do when you lived in communism. You just go along with the lie, that the government's telling you just so you got your bread, and your socialist job, folks. So there should be all kinds of protests for filling out something like this. It will go away quickly, but only if you stand up.
Absolutely. And on that note too, if you're like, well, I want to tell them that I want a religious accommodation and they don't give you one, please, please, please reach out to us at californiafamily.org. You can find the number to call, the email to reach out to. We will connect you with the correct attorneys that will take cases on these topics when compelled speech is happening for free. So do not think, well, I want to push back, but I can't afford attorneys and all that. We will help you get connected with different attorneys, different law groups that literally take on pro bono cases as such to stand up for religious values, to stand against compelled speech, to stand for the First Amendment right. I mean, myself at CFC, we had a First Amendment lawsuit about 2 years ago now that we had a law firm, Alliance Defending Freedom is who we used in that one, took it on for free, and they won it for us because we should not stand and be okay with our First Amendment right being violated, with our religious beliefs being violated, whatever it is. So we are here to help you all as well. Please use us as a resource. But Greg, with that, I wish I could say that's the only crazy trans ideology thing we have to talk about today. But unfortunately, it is not. Things are constantly happening with the Save Girls Sports movement in California. And, we were at Family Research Council's Pray Vote Stand conference at Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills about 2 weeks ago now. And I was on stage talking about this issue alongside Sonia Shaw, who's the Chino Valley School Board president for that Chino Valley Unified School District. And, we were telling people, we get texts and DMs and calls pretty nonstop from people being affected by boys and girls sports. Because a lot of people, I think, they know what's happening, but still some might say, well, isn't it just one boy that's affecting a bunch of people? Or is it just one situation, or what's really happening? And, we're telling people this on stage, and about 5 minutes after getting off stage, Sonia and I get a text from someone, hey, there's a boy playing in my school district here on this day. What can we do? And I literally laughed. I'm like, this is the reality of it. We're getting told nonstop about these situations. I got told just this week about a boy that's competing in girls wrestling at the high school level, a boy that's competing in girls cheer. And I know they let boys on the cheer team now, but this is a boy who identifies as a girl and pretends to be a girl. And so there's nonstop movement happening with this, unfortunately, and praise the Lord, we have brave girls standing up against it. And so one of the situations that we were recently involved in is there is a male athlete who completely took over track and field last year, to the point that even President Trump was talking about this male athlete. He also plays volleyball. And in this past volleyball season, it was his senior year, there was actually 10 games that were forfeited against Harupa Valley High School because these teams said, nope, we do not want to play against a male. We're not going to put our girls in that position. Unfortunately, CIF, who oversees high school sports in California, they've continued to allow boys and girls sports at the high school level. They've continued to keep their policy that allows that with even though we've pushed back for about 3 years now. And the Harupa Valley High School volleyball team, they made it to the first round of CIF, which is like their first round of playoffs. And when the school found out who was playing them, it was Valencia High School, which is in Orange County. When they found out that they would have to play against a boy, I think there was some, well, maybe we can forfeit. What should we do? All that. And so when things were discussed with CIF, according to some people at Valencia High School, CIF basically told them that if you choose to forfeit the first round of CIF, not only will you be out of playoffs, we will not let your team play next year in playoffs. So you're choosing now to forfeit 2 years of playoffs. That's the position CIF put this team in. So the team decided to play. And I don't fully agree with that decision. I don't think any win, any playoffs is worth putting girls at risk of being in danger. But I understand that this is what the high school chose to do. It's what the coach chose to do. And I do know there was a girl or two that sat out of the game because they didn't want to be injured by a male. Luckily, Valencia High School won this game. But that means the male is officially out of girls' high school volleyball because he's a senior, so they're officially done. Yet, there has been pushback at the game. There's 2 girls that are on the team, on Harupa Valley High School team with the male. It's Hadil and Alyssa. They're actually suing their school district, CIF, and the California Department of Ed because they've had to play with the male for about 4 years now. And so they went to the game and they chose to wear shirts that say XX only. Shirts actually that will be selling soon online, so you guys can get one of those yourself soon. They went to the game and they said, we're not going to compete as long as the male is on the team because we're not going to take a role in that. After pushback, after asking the coaches to protect girls' sports, after all these things. And so they've been left in a position where they're unable to compete due to the male. The coach did not allow the girls to sit on the bench with the team. The coach didn't even put the girls' names on the roster, so they had to pay to get in to watch their own team play in CIF. And so if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can see here on the screen, after the game was over, it was really cool. The 2 girls from Harupa Valley High School that said no to playing connected with a bunch of the girls from Valencia High School students section that was there watching the game because they all saw each other's protect girls sports stuff. They were like, oh my gosh, yeah, we're protecting girls sports too. We're not okay with the male. And they all connected and they literally were like, can we get a group photo? So you'll see on the screen these high school girls taking this group photo. And then you also see these 2 adult women. One is flipping off the girls and the other is booing. They were saying how sad you must be. Like they were just shouting and booing because these girls don't want boys in their spaces. And so, Greg, I was there at the game. I was texting you guys, sending you guys these updates. And were you shocked to see these grown adult women doing that when I sent this over? Or what kind of went through your mind?
Well, to start off, I know that you were like questioning whether you should even go. And you've been running around to this event and that event, and you've been super supportive of these girls. And so, I remember you said, well, I guess I'll go. And so you get there and, you have these women who would act like this in front of, for these girls for expressing their opinion, right? It's awful, terrible behavior. You off to the right, there's a guy in a blue sweater, a blue shirt. I don't know if it's the husband, but he doesn't look particularly happy about how these 2 other women are acting. It's like, oh my goodness, right? So, but here's the thing. You've highlighted this type of thing for so long that you're kind of people pick up on it, and so. You went there, you took a couple of pictures, you got some video of their terrible behavior, and then you posted it online. And we are in an age where you don't have to be a big-time reporter with a huge network to report the news. Mm-hmm. And I know you have a few shots here, but your little pictures went round the world. Here's India, the Times of India. you got your picture here of Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, who reposted your post about this behavior of these women and these poor kids who are standing up for girls sports. He reposts it, and then you get all these newspapers writing about his involvement in reposting. It's kind of hilarious, but we live in an age where we can get our message out better now than we ever could before. I mean, there's all kinds of things that complain about social media and it taking over our lives and getting addictive, but it lets people like us who don't have a network behind us communicate our message to the world, especially when it resonates with the population.
Yes, absolutely. And I do want to note when Ted Cruz reposted it, he did say, and it was the picture you guys just saw on the screen. We'll throw it right back on. He reposted this tweet and he said, "If you do this to little girls, your heart has turned entirely dark." And honestly, he is not wrong in saying that. And I wish I could say this is the worst that the girls faced that day. But unfortunately, the two girls that are on the team with the male, because they were not allowed to sit on the bench with the team, and the coach would not tell them why they were not allowed to sit on the bench. The coach just said no. And the coach is also a woman. So to watch women like working towards their own erasure is really disturbing. But these girls, Alyssa and Hadil, they sat in the normal bleacher area with all the parents, the student section, who all was there. So I was sitting with them. And so moms of girls on the high school team that are supportive of the male athlete playing on the girls' team, they decided to come and egg on and disrespect the two high school girls that said they don't want to play with a male. Mind you, I was there the whole time. I was sitting with the two girls, and we were sitting there. We sat there first. There wasn't anyone around us, and these grown adult women, these moms, decided to come up and sit directly behind the girls. At one point, one of the moms got so close, one of the girls literally turned around and said, "Can you get your knees out of my back?" Because you know how bleachers are, they're pretty close, but you are intentional when you're putting your knees up against someone's back and like rubbing against someone. So this high school girl had to turn around and ask this mom, "Can you get your knees out of my back?" We were sitting there first. The girl was sitting up straight. She wasn't leaning back or taking up space. The mom let her know, "Can you get your back off my knees?" This is the kind of behavior coming from these adult women who are supportive of the male athlete playing with girls. As well as at one point, one of the girls took a picture, or I think she was taking pictures of the court. She was literally on her phone texting a friend, was not sending the picture, was just texting a friend. Again, I was sitting next to her. I could see my phone herself. For some reason, one of the moms behind her decided she was posting pictures of the male athlete playing, which is, first of all, completely legal and okay to do. But she starts yelling at her, "Do not post pictures with my daughter in them." And this isn't the boy's mom. This is one of the moms that has another girl on the team. Starts yelling at this high school girl. And she's like, "I'm not posting anything. I'm texting a friend." And just went out of her way to scream to the girl. And so I wanted to show you guys a clip where you can see one of the moms intentionally, literally cheering on the male athlete, clapping right above the girl's head. And you can see how close she gets to them. And like I said, we were sitting there first. The moms were all in one area. The girls sat in their own area to kind of steer clear and all of that. They went up to them. They were the ones that kept confronting them, that kept getting mad at them. And that video on X also got over 1 million views because it's pretty disturbing to watch grown adult women do that to girls that simply just want fair and safe spaces.
It's crazy, disappointing, but glad to see those girls were taking it in stride. And when you stand up against something like this, you have to be willing to take the arrows, and they are. And so I'm glad to see so many people being supportive of them and encouraging them. And so, folks, it's sad that this type of standing up thing is necessary, and the reactions you have to put up with. But I think the more we stay steady, the truth is on our side. I'm hopeful that sanity will return.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know what? Like Greg said, these girls, the two girls, they remained calm. They minded their business. They were there just to watch their team play. And, I got to talk to them afterwards and I said, this is a really good life lesson. I mean, I apologized to them that they were in this situation because it breaks my heart. But I told these girls, I said, you guys are 17 years old. And you just learned that sometimes you're going to be at places, at jobs, on like wherever you're going to be at in life, where there's going to be people that are not going to act their age. There's going to be people that disrespect you because of your beliefs and your values. And there's going to be people that try to egg you on and attack you for it. And the fact that at 17 years old, you guys didn't turn around and start clapping in their faces or throwing a hissy fit or making a scene, and which could have been very easy to do, but you understood in that moment that you were not going to stoop to their level. Like, let this be a life lesson. And so these girls are learning so much, but that doesn't mean it's okay. So we need to keep supporting the girls, cheering them on. If you guys have not signed the petition urging CIF to follow Title IX and save girl sports, you can sign that at xxonly.org. And if you are wondering where you can hear more about these stories that we shared with you today and how you can stay up to date, visit californiafamily.org. You can sign up for our weekly newsletter where you will get the lay of the land in California for that week, whether it's about sports or universities or elections like Prop 50. And so check that out. We will keep you guys all up to date. But with that, we will see you all next time.